There are few moments in cinematic history as heart-wrenching and iconic as the final stand of Tony Stark. The image of Iron Man, battered and bruised, snapping his fingers and sacrificing everything to save the universe, is etched into the minds of fans around the world. His death wasn't just a turning point in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It was the emotional core of over a decade of storytelling. And yet, as time goes on, and the MCU expands into new frontiers, one question continues to echo, louder than ever. Could Tony Stark return? It's not just a matter of wishful thinking. The possibility of Tony Stark making a comeback is a discussion charged with emotion, layered theories, and narrative potential. His journey, after all, was never just about technology or heroism. It was about redemption, legacy, and the human spirit. So, what if that journey isn't quite over? Let's take a deep dive into the aftermath of his death, the theories that hint at his return, the implications for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and the voice of fans who still hold out hope. This is MovieCast, and today we're exploring Tony Stark's potential return to the MCU. The snap's aftermath. It all came down to one snap. Tony Stark's final act in Avengers. Endgame wasn't just the climax of a single movie. It was the culmination of an entire saga. In those last moments, he made the ultimate sacrifice, wielding the Infinity Stones and erasing Thanos and his army from existence. He knew the cost. He didn't hesitate, but that snap came with a price. Tony's death sent shockwaves through the MCU. It wasn't just the loss of a leader. It was the loss of a father figure, a mentor, a friend. For Peter Parker, it was like losing a second father. For Pepper Potts, it was the heartbreak of seeing her husband slip away after finally finding peace. And for the audience, it was the painful realization that even superheroes aren't invincible. Yet his sacrifice wasn't in vain. The universe was saved. The fallen were brought back. Hope was restored. But the question remains, what came after? Even in death, Tony Stark's influence lingers. His technology continues to shape the world. From Edith to his archived AI systems, Tony's genius remains a cornerstone of the MCU. The Avengers may have lost their Iron Man, but his legacy lives on in the form of new heroes like Peter Parker, Riri Williams, and even his own daughter, Morgan. Still, despite the emotional closure his death provided, the MCU is far from finished with Tony Stark. And as Marvel dives deeper into multiverses, timelines, and quantum possibilities, the door may not be as closed as we once thought. The MCU has never shied away from complexity. It thrives on bending reality, challenging the linear flow of time, and opening doors to alternate dimensions. And with that in mind, the idea of Tony Stark returning doesn't sound as impossible as it once did. Let's explore the leading theories. The multiverse. The introduction of the multiverse was a game changer. With Loki, Spider-Man, No Way Home, and Doctor Strange in the multiverse of madness, Marvel has opened Pandora's box. In this sprawling web of realities, there's no reason to believe Tony Stark only exists in one version of the timeline. What if, in another universe, he never died? What if there's a version of Tony who never became Iron Man, or one who did, but made different choices, fought different battles, or even joined Thanos. In the vast and ever-expanding Marvel Cinematic Universe, the concept of the multiverse has unlocked possibilities that once seemed like pure fantasy. After the events of Avengers Endgame, fans mourned the loss of Tony Stark, believing it was the end of the road for Iron Man. But with the multiverse now firmly established in the MCU, the question arises, could alternate versions of Tony Stark exist? And could they find their way into the main timeline? To explore this, we need to journey back to where the seeds of the multiverse were first planted. Doctor Strange introduced audiences to the idea of infinite realities. In Avengers Endgame, the Avengers time heist hinted at the creation of alternate branches of reality, and Loki took it even further by officially shattering the sacred timeline and introducing countless new ones. Then came Spider-Man, No Way Home, and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, where variants of beloved characters, and even entirely new versions, appeared, further confirming that no character is ever truly gone across the multiverse. In one universe, Tony Stark might never have been kidnapped by the Ten Rings. In another, he may have refused to reveal his identity as Iron Man. Perhaps somewhere out there, Tony Stark is still alive, thriving, and unaware of the sacrifices made by his counterpart in the prime MCU timeline. This possibility offers the MCU an exciting loophole. By introducing a variant of Tony Stark, Marvel could bring Robert Downey Jr. back into the fold without undoing the emotional weight and finality of his original sacrifice. A variant, Tony could be more arrogant, more broken, or even more heroic, providing a fresh angle to a character fans already love, while respecting the legacy he left behind. There have already been hints at alternate Tonys in the broader Marvel storytelling landscape. What If gave us glimpses of different versions of Stark, some who met tragic ends, and others who never became Iron Man at all. These animated stories, while not directly tied to the main MCU canon, opened viewers' imaginations to the endless possibilities that alternate Tonys could bring. Imagine a Tony Stark from a world ravaged by Ultron's victory, hardened and cynical, crossing over into the MCU to warn of a multiversal threat. Or perhaps a younger Tony, plucked from a timeline where the Avengers never formed, stepping into a leadership role once again. But this time in a world unfamiliar and full of new dangers. However, there's a catch. Marvel Studios has been careful with how they treat major character deaths. Reviving Tony Stark, even through a variant, risks undermining the powerful impact of his sacrifice in Endgame. His death wasn't just another plot point. It was the emotional climax of the Infinity Saga. Bringing him back would require a delicate balance, honoring the past while forging a new future. Some fans speculate that if Tony returns, it could be a brief appearance rather than a full-time resurrection. Perhaps a mentor figure in Secret Wars, offering guidance from across realities. Maybe a variant Tony steps in during a desperate moment, helping the heroes defeat a multiversal villain before returning to his own timeline. Short, impactful appearances could satisfy fans' desire to see Tony again without diminishing the meaning of his farewell. There's also the narrative opportunity to show a different side of Tony. One who never learned the lessons our Tony did. This version might clash with existing heroes, forcing them to confront how much Tony's journey of growth mattered. It could be a powerful reminder that heroism isn't just about genius and charisma, but about sacrifice, humility, and change. Moreover, Marvel's upcoming phases are leaning heavily into the multiverse. With Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars on the horizon, the rules of reality itself are in flux. Secret Wars in particular is known from the comics for merging multiple universes into one chaotic battleground. In such a sprawling multiversal event, the appearance of a Tony Stark variant seems almost inevitable, even if only for a moment. Casting also plays a role here. Robert Downey Jr. has expressed a deep love for the character, but has also acknowledged the beauty of Tony's final moment. Bringing him back would require the right story, the right stakes, and most importantly, the right emotional resonance. Marvel would need to offer more than fan service. They would need to tell a story that feels essential. And maybe that's the real potential of the multiverse. Not just to resurrect old favorites, but to reframe them, challenge them, and explore new dimensions of their character. If handled carefully, Tony's return could be more than a nostalgic cameo. It could be a meaningful evolution of the legacy he left behind. In the end, the multiverse doesn't erase Tony Stark's sacrifice. Instead, it presents a canvas where different shades of his character can still shine, reminding us that heroes live not just in one world, but in every world where hope, ingenuity, and heart are needed. When Avengers Endgame first hit theaters, audiences were stunned not only by its epic scale, but by the new doors it opened, especially the door of time travel. The movie didn't just flirt with the idea. It dove deep, showing us that in the MCU, time isn't a fixed line. It's elastic, unpredictable, and, most importantly, full of possibilities. We watched as Earth's mightiest heroes leapt across decades to gather the Infinity Stones, from the Battle of New York in 2012 to the distant realm of Vormir. Each jump was a reminder that in the Marvel Universe, the past is not set in stone. It's accessible, mutable, at least under the right circumstances, which leads to an intriguing thought. What if time travel is the secret to Tony Stark's return? Imagine this. Someone, maybe Peter Parker, still grappling with the loss of his mentor, or perhaps Doctor Strange, armed with forbidden knowledge, decides to bend the rules, not to change the outcome of the Infinity Saga, but to retrieve Tony Stark at a pivotal point in time. A version of Tony who hasn't yet made the ultimate sacrifice, who doesn't know what fate awaits him. It wouldn't be about altering history. It would be about saving a man who became a symbol, plucking him from the flow of time to guide a new era of heroes. But as the Ancient One warned, tampering with time has consequences. Heavy ones. This version of Tony would be younger, perhaps even cockier, still carrying the full weight of his genius and arrogance. He wouldn't have gone through the emotional crucible that made him ready to sacrifice himself. He wouldn't yet be the man who could calmly say, "I am Iron Man," and snap away Thanos. He would be brilliant, yes, but raw, And bringing him into the present would mean dealing with that reality. There's also the ethical minefield it would create. Would it be right to rip Tony away from his timeline? From a path that ultimately led to his greatest act of heroism? Is it fair to resurrect someone for personal grief, even if that someone is the key to saving countless others once again? And what would Tony himself think if he learned how his life was supposed to end? The MCU has never shied away from gray areas. Steve Rogers going back to live with Peggy Carter altered history in a profound yet deeply personal way. Loki's escape with the Tesseract created an entirely new timeline, leading to his own adventures in Loki. And we saw in Endgame that messing with the past could fracture realities if not handled correctly. Time travel, then, would be a loophole, a risky one, but a loophole nonetheless. In this scenario, Bonnie's return wouldn't simply be a get out of death free card. It would come with repercussions. Perhaps his presence would slowly erode the stability of the timeline. Maybe cosmic forces like the TVA, Time Variance Authority, would intervene, deeming his existence a threat to the sacred balance of reality. There's also the dramatic potential of Tony interacting with the world he helped build but didn't live to see. Meeting a grown-up Morgan Stark, watching Peter Parker evolve into his own hero, standing alongside Sam Wilson's Captain America, a man carrying Steve Rogers' shield. These moments would be powerful, but bittersweet. A constant reminder that this Tony doesn't truly belong. And it's not just about nostalgia or emotion. There's a practical side too. The MCU faces threats bigger than ever before. Kang the Conqueror, multiversal collapses, secret wars brewing on the horizon. Who better to tackle cosmic-level threats than Tony Stark, armed with knowledge and technology even he never imagined. Yet, the deeper question lingers. Would Tony want to stay? If Tony Stark, even a younger version, learned of his own sacrifice, his family, and the legacy he left behind, would he choose to rewrite fate? Or would he accept his destiny? Knowing that some things are too important to undo, there's a poignant symmetry here. Tony's arc was always about moving from selfishness to selflessness. From I am Iron Man, meaning I am invincible, to meaning I am responsible. Bringing him back through time would force him to confront that journey all over again. And perhaps he would decide to walk away, choosing to preserve the timeline rather than disrupt it. Or maybe, just maybe, he would find a new path, guiding the next generation of Avengers without sacrificing what he had earned. Acting not as the hero in the armor, but as the mentor behind the scenes. A new role for a new world. Either way, time travel offers a tantalizing, dangerous possibility. It's a thread the MCU could pull, but only if they're ready to weave an even more complicated and emotional tapestry than before. In the end, time is both an enemy and an ally. In the MCU, it's a tool that can heal, destroy, and reshape destinies. And perhaps, just perhaps, it could be the tool that brings Tony Stark back, if the universe is willing to pay the price. The quantum realm, the mysterious key to Tony's return. When Scott Lang stumbled out of the quantum realm after 5 years in Avengers Endgame, it became clear that this microscopic universe was far more than a scientific curiosity. It was a bridge between time, dimensions, and realities. In the MCU, the quantum realm is unpredictable, dangerous, and maybe the last true unknown. And when it comes to Tony Stark, the quantum realm might just hold the key to something even more impossible: resurrection. Think back to Tony's final moments. A genius inventor, a futurist who was always 2 steps ahead of the world. If anyone had prepared for the unknown, it was Tony Stark. Could it be possible that he had contingency plans hidden in places no one would ever think to look? Like the quantum realm itself? The quantum realm doesn't play by the same rules as our reality. Time moves differently there. Seconds can stretch into centuries. Entire worlds can exist within atoms. In Ant-Man and the Wasp, Janet Van Dyne survived there for decades, evolving and adapting to its strange energy. What if, somehow, a Tony's consciousness, or even a fragment of his being, found refuge within the quantum realm during the snap? It sounds outlandish, but in the MCU, outlandish is just Tuesday. Maybe at the moment of his death, Tony's genius-designed nanotech suit reacted instinctively, scanning for survival options. Maybe an AI version of Tony, a sophisticated digital echo of his mind, was uploaded into the quantum realm, waiting for the right moment to emerge. After all, Tony had already dabbled in creating sentient AI with Jarvis, Friday, and even Edith. A backup plan tucked away in quantum space doesn't seem so far-fetched. If that's the case, the quantum realm could serve as a narrative loophole to bring Tony back without undoing his sacrifice. He died. His death still matters, but a version of him, perhaps not fully human, but carrying all his memories, brilliance, and spirit, could survive. And there's precedent for this idea, too. In the comics, Tony Stark has died more than once, only to return in unexpected ways, as an AI, as a consciousness uploaded into machines, even through alternate realities. The MCU could easily adapt these ideas, blending them with the wild science of the quantum realm. Picture it. The next time Scott Lang ventures into the quantum realm, he stumbles across an echo. A voice, faint at first, growing stronger, unmistakably Tony. Or maybe it's Cassie Lang, exploring new realms with the young Avengers. Who finds him? A digital Tony, or even a reborn physical version, altered by the strange properties of the quantum universe. Of course, this raises huge questions. Would this Tony be the same man? Would he feel like a ghost trapped in a machine, longing for the life he left behind? Or would he see himself as something new, an evolution of Ironman, untethered from the mortal world? And what would his return mean for the Avengers and for his family? Imagine Morgan Stark, now a teenager, meeting a version of her father who exists between realities. It's emotional, confusing, and ripe for storytelling. It would challenge the very idea of life and death in the MCU, forcing characters to ask whether the Tony they love is truly back, or just a memory wearing his face. Beyond the personal drama, the quantum realm could also connect Tony's return to larger threats looming in the MCU's future. Ant-Man and the Wasp. Quantumania showed us that the quantum realm is linked to Kang the Conqueror, a villain who manipulates time and realities. If Tony's essence is somewhere in the quantum dimensions, it's possible Kang or other multiversal threats could discover or even weaponize him. Maybe Tony becomes a key player in preventing a multiversal war. Maybe he's the ace up Earth's sleeve, a secret weapon hidden away since the end of the Infinity Saga. Or maybe he becomes a target, hunted by those who understand the immense power of a mind like Tony Stark's. And let's not forget, Tony has always been a futurist. Even in death, it would be fitting for him to exist in the one place where the future is literally limitless. The beauty of using the quantum realm to bring Tony back is that it honors his sacrifice while opening new doors. His death in Endgame stays meaningful. It remains the emotional cornerstone of the MCU. But it also acknowledges Tony's core truth. He was always prepared for tomorrow, always building something for the next generation, even if that next generation never expected it. In a universe where gods walk among mortals, talking raccoons, pilot spaceships, and timelines fracture with a snap of the fingers, Tony Stark finding a way to survive in the subatomic fabric of reality feels right. It would be bold. It would be emotional. It would be Tony. The quantum realm is chaos and opportunity intertwined. It's danger and salvation, often in the same breath. And if Tony Stark's story is to continue, even in a new and unexpected form, the quantum realm may be the perfect place to find him, lost, waiting, and still ready to save the world one more time. With all these theories floating around, one thing becomes clear. Tony Stark's return, if done right, could redefine the future of the MCU. But it wouldn't just be a comeback. It would be a ripple effect. If Tony returns, how do the characters react? How does the world respond? Does it inspire hope or fear? For Peter Parker, it would mean the return of his mentor. For Pepper and Morgan, it's a second chance at family. But for others, those who've grown since Tony's death, it could bring emotional turmoil. What if Steve Rogers ever left, only to see Tony return? And what about Riri Williams? We know. The genius prodigy known as Ironheart. She's forging her path in Tony's shadow. Would his return overshadow her growth or elevate it? Then there's the broader narrative of implications. A returning Tony Stark could become a guide, a leader, or even a warning. He could help navigate the multiverse saga, battle Kang, or aid the young Avengers. But he could also be a version of Tony who's not a hero. And that possibility opens up thrilling new conflicts. Tony's return doesn't have to mean peace. It could mean war. Now, let's talk about the heartbeat behind all of this. The fans. Tony Stark isn't just a fictional character. He's a cultural icon. His arc resonated with audiences around the world, and his death felt personal to many. That connection hasn't faded with time. It's only grown stronger. Across social media, fan theories abound. Fan art portrays resurrected Tonys, alternate reality Tonys, even AI Tonys, mentoring the next generation. Reddit threads are filled with speculation about clues hidden in upcoming projects. YouTube comments plead for Robert Downey Jr.'s return. The desire is real. The passion is relentless. Why won't? Because Tony represented more than just Iron Man. He represented growth. From a self-centered weapons dealer to a selfless protector, Tony Stark showed us that people can change. He was flawed, funny, brilliant, and brave. Fans are not just hoping for a return. They're hoping for a continuation, for closure, for one last lesson from the man who started it all. But with great expectations come great challenges. How do you satisfy fan desires without betraying the integrity of his sacrifice? Can Marvel strike that balance? Perhaps that's the most compelling question of all. Whether Tony Stark returns or not, one thing is certain. His legacy is immortal. He began the MCU with the words, "I am Iron Man." He ended his journey with those same words, bringing the story full circle. And in between, he gave us laughter, tears, and unforgettable moments. His death was heroic, but his life? That was revolutionary. As we look to the future of the MCU, with new heroes rising, new villains emerging, and the multiverse spinning out of control, Tony's shadow looms large. He may be gone, but he's not forgotten. And maybe, just maybe, he's not done. Because in the ever-expanding world of Marvel, doors never truly close. There's always another reality, another version, another chance. Tony Stark might return, or he might not. But either way, his story continues. Through the characters he inspired, the technology he built, and the universe he helped save, Tony Stark lives on. And if we ever hear those words again, "I am Iron Man," in a theater packed with cheering fans, it won't just be a comeback. It will be a reminder that heroes never really die.